Hi, I'm Dr. Valerie. I'm here at My Spirit Matters, and we're talking about the issues of codependency, abuse, addiction. A question that a lot of folks ask me is, well, Dr. Valerie, my loved one has been sober for a while. We're going to have a big celebration of our anniversary. Can they have a drink? And it's a good question because most people who are not addicted do not realize the magnitude of addiction. And even though a person can go a period of time without drinking or using anything, what happens inside the body is it does not forget what that feeling was like when they consumed alcohol or drugs. So they go a period of time without it. And just as a point of celebration where they have a glass of champagne, it triggers something inside them. It triggers the old message. And what happens is that the person begins to think about the drug again. They begin to think about using. And they begin to, in some respects, romanticize what it was like. They remember all the good things. And just that one little toast or that one glass can actually catapult the person back in to that dark hole of destructiveness and devastation that comes with addiction. So in the field, we tell people, if you truly believe you have an addiction, it's not something that you can go back to. You cannot go back to drinking. You cannot go back to drugs. And I know that there are programs out there, there's advertisements that say that you can. In my experience and the thousands of people that I've worked with, once the line has been crossed into addiction, there's no going back. The only thing that you can do is to say no and to stay away from it and to stay in recovery. That is your best option. It has a tendency. Addiction is seen as something that is cunning, baffling, and powerful. And I tell you, a person can go 20 years without drinking and have one drink, and it puts them back at square one. And I know you really don't want that for your loved one. You want them to stay focused on recovery. And it really isn't worth it. It isn't worth them going back to what their life was like when they were in the throngs of their addiction. So what I say to folks is, that's not an idea, a suggestion that you want to entertain for a person that's addicted, because they are not going to be able to handle it. And you might say, well, I know my Uncle Joe, he didn't drink for 10 years, and we had a celebration and he had one glass and he stopped. And everybody should be able to do that. But number one, everyone's different. And what normally you may not know is that people sneak and hide because they're embarrassed. They become guilty, or they feel ashamed of having returned to that substance that they fought so hard to kick, and they don't want people to know. There's a lot of shame based around recovery and based around being able to say no, because it's so accepted in our society to go out to dinner and to have that drink. The person has to be willing to be strong enough to say, no, I'm choosing not to do that today. And it is a program that talks about recovery being just one day at a time, despite what family members may want of them. If they have crossed that line into addiction, You do not want them taking a taste, celebrating, being part of a toast where they would be consuming alcohol or drug that had a disastrous effect on their life. You don't want that to happen. The disease of addiction is one that is cunning, baffling, and powerful. And you, if you don't have a problem, you don't realize how difficult it is to stay away from it. How difficult it is to be able to say no and to stick with that. So allow the person to stay in recovery and support them in that process.